In just 3 minutes, you can reprogram decades of scarcity conditioning and activate your mind to attract instant wealth. This isn't theory. It's not just self-help. It's a scientific breakthrough Louise Hay stumbled upon. A discovery that forever changed the neuroscience of manifestation. Have you tried those mental reprogramming programs promising results in 30 days, 60 days, 6 months? Spent months repeating affirmations, only to see no real change in your bank account? Louise Hay discovered something that will shock you. She discovered your brain doesn't need months to reprogram. It can create new neural pathways of abundance in exactly 180 seconds. But only if you know how to activate what she called the neuroplastic emergency protocol. Let me tell you how this discovery happened. Louise was giving a lecture in Los Angeles when a woman in the audience had a panic attack. The woman screamed that she was losing her house, couldn't pay her bills. Her financial life was ruined. Louise had to do something urgent. No time for therapy sessions. No time for gradual processes. She had to create an instant intervention to stop this woman's emotional collapse. And it was in this moment of extreme pressure that Louise discovered something revolutionary about how the human brain really works. In 3 minutes, using a technique she created on the spot, she not only calmed the woman, she literally reprogrammed her nervous system, shifting her from scarcity panic to a state of receptivity for abundance. 2 weeks later, that same woman called Louise. She had renegotiated her mortgage, landed a better job, and received an unexpected sum of money from a forgotten lawsuit. That's when Louise Hay understood she had discovered something traditional neuroscience said was impossible: instant brain reprogramming. But let me explain the science behind this. And it's going to blow your mind. Your brain has something called neuroplasticity. It's its ability to create new neural connections and modify existing patterns. Traditional science says this takes time, weeks, months, even years. But Louise Hay discovered there's a specific condition where the brain enters a kind of emergency mode and accelerates neuroplasticity by 1,000 times. This condition happens when you create what she called a controlled positive shock, a state where your nervous system is forced to reorganize instantaneously to cope with a new reality. It's the same mechanism that makes people change completely after traumatic experiences. Only Louise Hay discovered how to use this mechanism for positive trauma, to force the brain to reorganize for abundance instead of scarcity. And the most incredible part is that this entire process can be activated in just 3 minutes if you know exactly what to do. Dr. Rick Hansen, a Harvard neuroscientist, confirmed that intense emotional experiences can rewrite neural pathways in a matter of minutes. But Louise Hay went further. She discovered how to create this intense emotional experience in a controlled way, specifically targeting financial abundance. The technique she developed works in 3 one-minute stages. Each stage activates a specific part of your brain responsible for prosperity patterns. First minute, activating the limbic system to break down old resistances. Second minute, reprogramming the prefrontal cortex for new decision-making patterns. Third minute, anchoring in the cerebellum to automate new behaviors. Emily, an accountant from Austin, Texas, was facing the imminent collapse of her family business. 20 years of work on the brink of crumbling. When she learned about Louise Hay's 3-minute technique, she was so desperate, she decided to try anything. She did the protocol one Friday night, alone in her office, crying in despair. but following each step exactly as Louise Hay taught. Monday morning, she received a life-changing call, a client from years ago, offering a contract that would save the company. A contract that appeared out of nowhere, without her having done any prospecting. Emily told me, "I can't explain what happened. I only know that something fundamental changed in my mind during those 3 minutes, and the external world responded immediately. And that's exactly the transformation that happens. Louise Hay's technique doesn't change the external world directly. It changes your internal frequency so radically that the external world has no choice but to reorganize to reflect your new neurological reality. Because here's what most people don't understand. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are neurologically programmed to recognize and accept. If your brain is programmed for scarcity, you literally can't perceive opportunities for abundance even when they're right in front of you. It's like wearing sunglasses in a room full of light and thinking you're in the dark. But when you reprogram your brain using Louise Hay's 3-minute technique, it's like taking off those sunglasses. You suddenly see opportunities, resources, and possibilities that were always there, but you were neurologically incapable of perceiving. The technique works because it directly accesses what Louise Hay called the source code of your financial programming, the deepest beliefs about money that were installed in your mind. Before the age of 7, most reprogramming techniques try to change these patterns from the outside in, like trying to change a computer software without having access to the operating system. But Louise Hay's 3-minute technique directly accesses the operating system of your mind. It changes the fundamental programming that controls how you perceive, seek, and accept prosperity. David, an entrepreneur from Miami, told me he always sabotaged his own successes. Every time he started making money, something went wrong. He spent impulsively, made bad decisions, created problems where there were none. After doing the 3-minute technique, he realized he had stopped sabotaging himself, not consciously. The sabotage simply stopped happening, as if someone had turned off a program running automatically in the background of his mind. In 6 months, he tripled his company's revenue without changing anything strategic. He simply stopped working against himself. And that's the genius of Louise Hay's discovery. She realized the problem was never a lack of opportunities or knowledge. The problem was always the internal programming that makes you unconsciously reject prosperity. When you change this programming at a deep neurological level, everything changes automatically. Your decisions, your perceptions, your actions, your results. But there's a secret within the technique that makes all the difference. A secret Louise Hay only revealed after years of testing it on thousands of people. The reprogramming only works if you can access what she called a controlled state of vulnerability, a state where your psychological defenses are low enough to allow real change, but you still maintain conscious control of the process. Most people live with such high psychological defenses that no new information can get through. It's like trying to reprogram a computer with a firewall activated. Nothing gets past. But Louise Hay discovered how to temporarily disable these defenses safely. Do the reprogramming, and then reactivate the defenses with the new programming already installed. The entire process happens in 3 minutes, because that's exactly how long the brain can maintain this controlled state of vulnerability without going into panic or resistance. Less than 3 minutes isn't enough to do the complete reprogramming. More than 3 minutes activates the defense mechanisms. and the brain rejects the changes. Louise Hay tested this obsessively. She tried it with 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. 3 minutes was always the sweet spot for maximum neurological receptivity. And she discovered something even more fascinating. The technique doesn't work the same way for everyone. She had to develop 3 different variations for 3 types of scarcity programming. Type 1, scarcity through fear, people who are afraid of losing what they have. Type 2, scarcity through guilt, people who feel guilty about wanting money. Type 3, scarcity through disbelief, people who don't believe they deserve prosperity. Each type needs a specific approach during those 3 minutes for the reprogramming to happen effectively. Emily, a dentist from Austin, had scarcity through fear. Whenever she started earning more, she'd become paranoid that she was going to lose everything. This paranoia made her make overly conservative decisions that limited her growth. When she did the version of the technique specific to scarcity through fear, something changed instantaneously. The fear didn't disappear, but it stopped, controlling her financial decisions. In 3 months, she opened a second clinic, something she'd dreamed of for years but never had the courage to do. Robert had scarcity through guilt. He grew up hearing that money is dirty and that good people shouldn't worry about money. Even though he was a competent professional, he could never charge what he was worth. The version of the technique for scarcity through guilt reprogrammed this belief in 3 minutes. It didn't change his moral values. It just disconnected money from morality in his mind. Result, he increased his prices by 200% and still started attracting more clients because he stopped vibrating "I don't deserve it" energy. Anna, on the other hand, had scarcity through disbelief. She came from a poor family and genuinely couldn't imagine herself being rich. Every time she visualized abundance, her mind rejected it as not for me. The technique for scarcity through disbelief works specifically by expanding the brain's capacity for imagination and acceptance. After 3 minutes, Anna was able for the first time in her life to genuinely imagine herself prosperous without feeling like she was lying to herself. And it was this change in her capacity for imagination that opened the space for real opportunities to start appearing in her life. Louise Hay always said that imagination is the laboratory where the future is created. If you can't imagine yourself prosperous, you'll never be prosperous. Not because the universe doesn't want it, but because your brain doesn't have the necessary software to recognize and accept prosperity. The 3-minute technique installs this software instantaneously. But here's the most impressive part. Louise Hay discovered that the reprogramming doesn't just change how you think about money. It changes how you think about everything. Because prosperity isn't just about having money in the bank. It's about having an abundant mindset in all aspects of life. Abundant relationships, abundant health, abundant opportunities, abundant creativity. When you reprogram the core of scarcity, your whole life expands simultaneously. Patricia, an architect from Miami, did the technique to solve financial problems. But what happened went far beyond that. She started attracting better clients, met the love of her life, improved her health, and developed new talents. It was like I stepped out of a limited version of myself and into an expanded version, she told me. And that's exactly the transformation Louise Hay intended when she developed the technique. Not just financial change, complete existential change, because ultimately, financial scarcity is always a symptom of existential scarcity, of not feeling worthy of a full life, of not believing you can have everything you desire, of operating from limitation instead of infinite possibility. The 3-minute technique attacks this limiting programming at the root, and when you change the root, the entire tree of your life transforms. Now I'm going to teach you exactly how to identify your type of scarcity and which version of the technique to use to reprogram your mind in 3 minutes and start manifesting immediate wealth. The first thing you need to do is discover which type of scarcity is dominating your mind. Louise Hay developed a simple test that reveals this in seconds. Close your eyes and imagine that you've just received $1 million in your bank account. Now observe what the first reaction that spontaneously arises in your mind is. If you thought, "This can't be real," or "There must be some mistake," you have scarcity through disbelief. If you thought, "What if I lose it all?" or "Now I'm going to have to worry about protecting this money," you have scarcity through fear. If you thought, "I don't deserve this," or "People like me shouldn't have that much money," you have scarcity through guilt. Your first automatic reaction reveals the dominant programming, and each type needs a specific approach to be effectively reprogrammed. Now I'm going to teach you the 3 versions of Louise Hay's technique. Choose the one that corresponds to your type and prepare yourself for a neurological transformation that will change your life. Protocol for scarcity through disbelief. Minute 1, forced expansion of reality. Stand up, eyes closed, breathe deeply, and mentally shout, "I can have it all." Repeat this 10 times with increasing intensity. The goal is to force your brain to accept an expanded reality. Minute 2, anchoring the new possibility. Visualize yourself having 10 times more money than you can normally imagine. Don't try to be realistic. Be absurdly ambitious. Picture yourself buying, investing, donating huge sums of money. Push your imagination beyond its usual limits. 3-minute installation command. Place your hands on your chest and declare aloud, "My brain now accepts unlimited prosperity as my new natural reality." Feel these words etching themselves into every cell of your body. Protocol for scarcity due to fear. Minute 1, deactivating the loss alarm. Sit down, breathe deeply, and remember the worst financial loss you've ever experienced or fear experiencing. Feel the fear fully for 30 seconds. Then declare, "I have survived losses before, and I will survive any future loss. Fear of losing no longer prevents me from winning." Minute 2, reprogramming security. Visualize yourself having a lot of money and feeling completely secure. See yourself protected, investing wisely, multiplying wealth without anxiety. Engrave this feeling of financial security into your nervous system. Minute 3, new protection code. Declare with conviction, "Abundance is my natural protection. The more I have, the safer I feel. Prosperity and security go hand in hand in my life." Breathe this truth deeply. Protocol for scarcity due to guilt. Minute 1, releasing moral programming. Standing up, fists clenched, declare with anger, "I reject all programming that makes me feel guilty about prosperity. Money is neutral. Good people deserve resources to do good." Release all anger against limiting beliefs. Minute 2, reconnecting with a higher purpose. Visualize yourself using financial abundance to help people, achieve dreams, contribute positively. See money as a tool for positive impact, not as a necessary evil. Minute 3. Divine permission. Raise your hands and declare, I have divine permission to be prosperous. My abundance benefits the world. The more I have, the more I can give. Prosperity is my spiritual responsibility. Louise Hay discovered that these protocols work because each one specifically targets the neurological center where each type of scarcity is anchored. Scarcity due to disbelief resides in the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for imagination and future planning. Scarcity due to fear is located in the limbic system, specifically the amygdala, which processes threats. Scarcity due to guilt resides in the anterior cingulate cortex, which processes moral conflicts and judgments. When you use the correct protocol, you are literally rewriting the specific neural connections that keep your scarcity active. Brian, an engineer from Austin, had scarcity due to disbelief so strong that even when he earned well, he always expected something to go wrong. He used the forced expansion protocol for 3 consecutive days. On the 4th day, he had the courage to propose a project to his company that would yield a substantial bonus. A project he'd had in his drawer for months, but considered impossible to approve. The project was approved. The bonus arrived. And for the first time in his life, Brian could genuinely believe that he deserved and could have more. Julia had scarcity due to fear. She worked in sales but was always afraid of losing clients if she charged more. She did the loss alarm deactivation protocol. That same week, she increased her prices by 150% and didn't lose a single client. She discovered that the fear existed only in her head, not in the reality of the market. Richard suffered from scarcity due to religious guilt. He believed that it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. He always sabotaged successes because he associated money with sin. The moral programming release protocol broke this association in 3 minutes. He stopped seeing conflict between spirituality and prosperity. Result: he doubled his income in 2 months because he stopped unconsciously sabotaging himself. But Louise Hay discovered something even more powerful. She realized that after doing one of the protocols, people entered a special neurological state that lasted exactly 72 hours. She called this state a maximized opportunity window. During these 72 hours, the brain becomes hypersensitive to opportunities for abundance, and the person makes decisions exceptionally aligned with prosperity. Maria did the protocol on a Friday. Over the weekend, she had 3 insights on how to expand her business. On Monday, she implemented one of the insights and closed the biggest deal of her career. She told me, "It was as if my brain was operating on a different frequency. I saw possibilities I had never seen before, and this is exactly the window you need to take advantage of." The 3 days after doing the protocol are crucial. It's when your brain is most receptive to change and more aligned with abundance. Louise Hay recommended making a list during these 72 hours. All ideas that spontaneously arise. 2. All opportunities that appear. 3. All interesting people who cross your path. 4. All insights about money that come to mind. Your reprogrammed mind will show you paths that your old mind was unable to perceive. She said, "Now I'm going to teach you the advanced protocol that Louise Hay developed for people who want to further accelerate results." Amplification. Protocol, to be done 7 days after the first. Day 1. Redo your original protocol, disbelief, fear, or guilt. Day 2. Choose one of the other 2 protocols and do it as well. Day 3. Do the 3rd protocol. Day 4. Create your own personalized protocol based on your discoveries. Day 5. Combine elements of the 3 protocols in a unique sequence. Day 6. Meditate in complete silence for 3 minutes, visualizing abundance. Day 7. Declare aloud for 3 minutes all the changes you will implement. Louise Hay discovered that this 7-day sequence creates what she called a complete system reprogramming, like formatting a computer and installing a completely new operating system. Frederick did the complete sequence and reported changes that seemed impossible. In 1 month, he tripled his income as a consultant. He moved to an apartment 3 times better. He began attracting opportunities in areas he had never explored. He developed financial skills he didn't know he had. It was like waking up in a parallel version of my life where I had always been prosperous, he told me. But there's a final discovery that Louise Hay made that can completely transform your relationship with money forever. She discovered that there is a neurological point of no return, a moment where reprogramming becomes permanent, and you can no longer return to the old patterns of scarcity. This point happens when you can do any of the protocols without feeling internal resistance, when the declarations flow naturally, when the visualizations are vivid and easy, when you feel genuine conviction in the words. When you reach that point, the transformation becomes irreversible. Your brain literally forgets how to operate from a place of scarcity. Sarah spent 3 weeks doing the protocols daily, until she reached the point of no return. It was like a switch was permanently flipped in my mind, she told me. Since then, 2 years have passed, and she's never experienced real financial anxiety again. Not because she has a lot of money, but because her brain simply can't process scarcity as a reality anymore. Louise Hay always said the goal wasn't just to have money. The goal was to become neurologically incapable of being poor. When you reprogram correctly, poverty becomes as impossible for you as flying without a plane, she explained. And that is true financial freedom, not depending on external circumstances. Having a brain programmed to create abundance no matter what happens in the world. The technique is here. The protocols have been revealed. The science has been explained. Now, there's only one question. Will you use the next 3 minutes to change the next 30 years of your life? Louise Hay used to end her workshops saying, 3 minutes of courage can be worth more than 30 years of compliance. Your courage is now. Your 3 minutes are now. Your reprogramming starts now. Choose your protocol. Set the timer. And allow your mind to transform into the abundance machine it always had the potential to be. If this video reached you, it wasn't by chance. Subscribe to the channel and activate notifications, because life-changing knowledge arrives exactly when you're ready to apply it. Remember Louise Hay's final words. Your brain is waiting for new instructions. Give it the programming you want to live. 3 minutes, a new life. The choice is yours.